What up? What up?
Going on, man?
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. This training is going to be all about emotions and depth and intention and all that fun stuff.
All right,
Um,
Rob. I think you're on here twice.
I only got one Rob.
Interesting. I see two Robs, and you're muted as well, Rob.
What else can I screw up?
There you
Well, I
go.
only
I
see
see.
you here once, if that
I,
helps.
I see one Rob now.
There we go. There we go. Well, I'm gonna just jump in. Here's Morgan. I'm gonna let people in kind of as we go, but today's training, everyone is, and for those watching the recording, is all about the intention and the emotions that homeowners might be feeling, whether it's the neighbors, whether it's the actual homeowners that you're working with, or whether it's their network. And this is something that I want each of us to get clear on because honestly, like, this is kind of the, I don't know about like secret sauce, but understanding the psychology at play during the sales cycle, for during the build with the homeowners and with the neighbors, are going to give us clarity on what we could identify as activation points. So, an activation point, what we want to call it, is basically something like, when is an opportunity for them to get, like, to engage with us in a meaningful way, or to have a win, or potentially when are they at their worst emotions to where we can not necessarily use the fact that they're in bad emotions against them. We never want to do that, but rather, how can we come in and save them or solve their problem when they are in an emotional state? At the end of the day, and I want to just to get a few answers, what are we do? Like, what are we there to do? Let's make it as simple as possible. And this is, I mean, I don't know if it's a trick question. Further than just replace their roof, what are we doing for the homeowners?
Solve their problems.
There we
Solve their
go.
problems. Yeah.
Yep, y'all got it. So we're problem solvers. And what they're looking for and what people want is confidence that you're going to solve their problem in as reasonable of a way as possible. So, in order to maximize we are getting how we are able to display and demonstrate and be that problem solver, that's going to be directly correlated with, one, our good reviews, our neighbors that want to flag us down, our ability to get them to do referral generating activities, and then even the network being confident and reaching out to you, uh, if it, like, as a result of referral generating activities. So, what we want to get really clear on is simply, what are the emotions throughout this process? So, let's put a big ol', if it worked, what are the emotions and what is our intention as a result of the emotions? So, what we want to think through, and I want this to be like slightly collaborative, and sometimes it's going to be obvious, but I also want you to think through, like, okay, what does that mean? The ability to go as deep into like first principles, like, what are the core emotions? What are the needs? That's why, like, you learn in your science book Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Does anyone remember that?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, Heaven and Morgan, y'all should. Rob, you get a pass. I don't know when you were in high school, or middle school, or I don't know. But Maslow's hierarchy of needs is basically like it all the way from like you need to eat and you need water to you need to feel like loved and recognized. So it's basically like in what order of importance are people's needs. The nice thing is, as we're on the spectrum, which is really what it is of like what they need in that given moment, we need to look at like how can we get as close to their like primal needs as possible. And I know that sounds funny, but that really is how it works. So an example would be if we can, and this is not something that's really realistic, but if we can make them feel like their need for shelter is at risk if they do not get their roof replaced, that would be pretty effective. Now, in practice, that's very difficult because you'd pretty much have to exaggerate the problem or talk about the tiniest little probability of like what could happen. Like, oh well, if this and this happens, you could lose your home and you're screwed. What makes a little bit more sense and is a little bit easier on um a little bit easier on how like all this could maybe like match is like, okay, you can realistically talk about like their need to provide, their need for the ability to provide and to pay for things, or their need to have a certain safety net within their finances. Like those are all things that we can more realistically get to. So an example of that in like the sales process, and we're not going to just focus on the sales process for now, but those are like the easy ones we can look at. We can make them realize, hey, if you choose the wrong contractor, it could cost you double what, like it could cost you so much. You could have to get your roof replaced again. Or it could cost you even more than just a roof replacement because they could do something wrong and your roof could be worse off and then a storm could come and it could all like destroy the interior of your house and it's just a mess. Like that's the type of thing, like we can get closer to that. The closer we get to, like, we almost always want to be like flirting with the more extreme potential. That doesn't mean that we want them to feel as though we're like gaslighting them. I don't know if gaslighting's the right word. I don't think it is, but like you don't want them to feel like you're manipulating them and you're just trying to exaggerate so they feel like, because if they feel like that and they feel on guard, then they're going to be frustrated. They're not going to like you a whole lot. With that said, the big thing that we do want to get clear on is like, what are their driving emotions at each state? So before we even get here, what, and we've already kind of covered this, I'm sure, in like certain, like if y'all are a private client, what are the emotions that someone is feeling when they when they need a new roof? Like, let's just list out all of them. Let's
Anxious,
Fearful,
fearful,
disgusted.
disgusted. Okay.
excited, hopefully.
Sure. I mean, that would be a tough sell. Um,
Mostly negative stuff like nervousness or just like nervous about the process.
exactly. Yeah. Frustrated. Like they might have all the money in the world. Like they might, this $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 re-roof might not be a big deal for them. So they might just feel inconvenienced. Ugh, I don't want to deal with that. So mostly negative emotions. So as we're thinking about the fact that they're feeling these negative emotions, what do we need to, how do we need to show up at each different phase to show them that we are problem solvers? Because generally their biggest problem is less that their roof needs to be replaced, because that would just commoditize you. If it was purely just roof is leaking, fix roof, that just puts you in a commodity. And then we have to kind of like, or like we have to convince them that we're going to do the commodity better than someone else, which is true and there's truth to it. But what we really want to do is look at how can we solve their emotions and give them the maximum amount of confidence that we're going to solve these needs, these emotions, these feelings that they might have that are a result of the roof being replaced. So that's why, Tevin, you're going to close more if by the end of a conversation with you, they're like, I legitimately am excited for the next appointment because Tevin and I just cracked up the whole time, the first one. Like, Morgan, you're going to have I don't know who's in the back. Oh, you have headphones on. I was about to make a joke, but that 50-year-old, the 50-year-old woman that calls you out, that's like, he looks just like my son, like that might get them excited to like interact with you. Brian is going to have these widows that are like, ooh, hottie Brian's coming over. I don't know why, but he seems to get a lot of people that are like very blatant with the fact that they have little crushes on him. Tevin's like, man, Brad, you're weird. Told ChatGPT I was handsome. Now you're talking about Brian. I happily married, just confident. And
Confident.
so
That's what it is.
the thing that I want, like the point that I'm making is like, we want to figure out how can we solve those emotions. Sometimes it's covering them up. Sometimes it's legitimately solving the problem. So that's like step one, is what are the emotions that they're feeling? Because that will dictate the overall, like the macro of the emotional journey that we bring them on as we're trying to like do this project. Because if you go back to the closer framework, what does I should have just typed it. What does R stand for? Morgan, you better know that.
Reinforce their decision. I was trying to unmute myself.
Yeah, I was like, dude, we talked about this exhaustively. So reinforce their decision. So this is a sales framework, and the final step is reinforce. This is reinforce. Do you know why we reinforce? It's not to reduce refunds. Though, I mean, I guess if you're in a business where refunds are likely, that's like, but we reinforce to get referrals. Reinforce our referrals. Like, it wasn't on purpose, but like that is still a thing. So what we want to look at is, okay, this whole process is meant to reinforce. Up front, we want to get them clarify what their issue is, label them with the problem, overview their stresses, their past pains, what they think, sell them on the solution it being done, not the journey, the solution, explain away concerns, object and handling. So we want to reinforce. So this whole process, the inspection, the adjuster meeting, the build, finishing the job out, if we want to maximize how many referrals we're going to get just from this homeowner, then we want to make sure that we're constantly trying to reinforce the decision they made, which the decision they made was not, I mean, we could say the decision was made to just use you to replace their roof, but we also could say the decision was made to get their problem solved by you. Their problem, we want to look at what's the emotion of their problem and try to figure out, like, identify what that is. It doesn't mean that we need to get all weird and manipulative with it. We just want to be clear on it. So, like, broadly, macro, that's it. This whole process, macro, is going to be solving the driving, like, stress or emotion that comes with their roof needing to be replaced. But micro, there's a journey. Micro, it's not a straight line. It's an up and down and up and around. Like, there's different emotions. Inspection, maybe their guard's up. They're just, I don't want to deal with the price. If there is an adjuster meeting, maybe it's more like anxiety is like the main feeling, and maybe anxiety wasn't the main feeling, but anxiety is now, because rather than how the heck am I going to afford this and just pure stress, Now there's anxiety because there's like uncertainty of the future of like, is the adjuster going to cover it or not? If not, am I going to have to come out of pocket, or am I going to have to fight them? Like, there's just stakes that come with this. Build day, they've probably gotten past a few of the emotions, and now we're on maybe inconvenience, or okay, let's wrap this up. Like, there's a few different things. And job complete, if you did a good job, is going to be a degree of relief, but also hopefully some excitement. So there was a sales, an owner of a company, and it was a girl, and she sent a screenshot. She posted a screenshot just this morning, I think. And she runs a good company, so I'm not surprised by this. But the homeowner was like, they're like, I never thought I'd be so excited about getting my roof replaced. I don't know what color to choose. What color would you choose? She gave, well, I would, if you want to stick with the brown, I'd probably just only do like weathered wood. Like if you want to go with that look, and if you want to, but I also think like a gray could really pop. I would not do these colors. And the homeowner was like, which would you choose if it was your roof? She said a certain color, and they're like, awesome, let's go with that. I trust you. That one screenshot told a big story. That one screenshot said, okay, they were in a certain state, no chance they were excited about getting their roof replaced. And then they moved to excitement all the way like before build day. So what can we do to create that is something we always want to consider. And then how can we maintain that? So like we want to look at what are the natural emotions if we're just a run of the mill process, or what are the biggest threats of emotions could be a way of looking at it. I know that sounds weird, but like, does that make sense to you guys? Like, what emotions that are negative could be the biggest threats at a specific time? So that's what we want to kind of look at. So I'm going to undo this. That's not what I meant to do. There we go. Okay. So let's call it emotional threat. What would the homeowner's emotional threat, what would like the threats be at the inspection phase?
Nervous, frustrated.
I'm not going to say frustrated. I'm going to leave off because hopefully that was more like the decision to call a roofer, and once they engage in calling a roofer, but nervous, there's like a bunch
And
of
like, it's not like they were like,
like,
oh, but
that's
didn't-
probably
typical.
that's probably like nervous, like slash anxious. I'm gonna just like include that in one. Let's call it hesitant. So like, I was trying to think of the right word, but like, can I trust this person? Anything else? What let's think of a few, because there's plenty. I mean, there's not quite infinite, but like there's a lot we could come up with. We could spend all day on like one of these.
I mean, you could say fearful. I might go with anxious though.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. I like nervous and anxious. I think
I think most homeowners though, like if someone's coming over to give me a price, I'm just waiting for them to like give me something that's not gonna be in the line of what I'm thinking it's gonna be. So I'm gonna be more confident and cocky than I am gonna be nervous or apprehensive.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean, I think it's gotta be 50-50 at least. You're gonna get that.
I like that, but I think that there's probably So we're thinking threats to us. Them being nervous and anxious is a threat to us potentially. What would them being cocky be? How would that like?
They
How
could
could we
be arrogant. They could be not
arrogance? I like that.
complacent. They could be, not really willing to be impatient. And
Okay.
we get that all, in all levels of people.
Yeah, I think impatience is going to probably be a recurring one.
Especially with the leads we're getting these days. If we're even lucky to get somebody to talk to us, they're just crazy. It's not like they're nervous. It's like we're nervous that
We're
we're not even going to get in the door. Right, Tevin?
honestly, yeah.
That's a bad way I can't stand it that I'm thinking that way, but
Yeah. You're good though. We got it.
thanks.
Okay. So we're gonna go down the list real quick. Adjuster meeting. What could they be feeling, or what emotional threats do we have at the adjuster meeting? I'm just gonna let it do its thing. I think anxious is gonna
Did you look
make
it
an
up?
appearance again.
I think adjust meeting would be a lot of the same.
On
Why?
guard.
It's just instead of the feeling being about the person doing the work, it'd be more about if the work can get paid for.
And this is a great little way to place to pause. So I have like 3 cups over here. I look like a psycho. I just like pulled up this massive thing.
You're the best dressed psycho out there, though, I gotta say.
Thank you. So I am dressed. I'm at my dad's office today because I had a meeting in town. I actually probably am close to you, Rob. I'm like off Allen Parkway right now. Well, actually, you're probably in Maine.
I am, but I'll be in town tonight, so
There we go.
I'm gonna get on a plane in a little bit. But we're at Old Katy Road in North Post Oak,
Oh yeah, that's
right
pretty.
by Audi School.
That's pretty close. So this one, emotional threat, anxious, on guard, but I think that was a really good point, Morgan, that you made that I honestly hadn't like even necessarily thought of, was they generally are going to be more stressed and anxious. These feelings, these threats will be more towards, I mean, they could affect us, but they're going to be more towards like the adjuster. Now, this I think is where a lot of
When's your next one?
insurance-based companies go wrong because they decide I'm going to make the adjuster the bad guy and make this feel like it's like some battle. And sometimes I think that can go well, and sometimes I think that can like really backfire. But I like that. Anxious, on guard. Let's put that though. Curious. We'll put curious on one. Unsure. So I'm going to say unsure just because I think they're not like, who do I trust? The adjuster or the roofer? And then a lot of this is aimed at adjuster / insurance. And I think we're all doing mostly retail in this call specifically, so we don't have to worry about this as much. But the point is, I think this is something that we want to remember is like, okay, what are the threats and how can we potentially go through these and like get organized? This is the stuff that like in your marketing, once you get clear on this, this will be kind of like this will be like the meat of your marketing is like, okay, how do we, in a way that doesn't overdo it, answer these?
Our weekly call.
So it doesn't mean that you can just be like,
One
are you
thing.
nervous that your roof is gonna like explode if you don't get like,
Thanks.
we can't be like crazy about it, but we can look at like, okay, what would the common objections be and how can we turn that into benefits or things that we don't do? That's kind of why like the power offer can do
When did you
well.
start working on that?
Is
When
it's
did you
just
start working
usually like flipping objections on their head. All right, build day.
Relief. Sorry.
No,
Relief, probably a little bit of relief.
I
If you
think
start to get a little excited.
relief, and excitement, but that's less of a threat, but I'll still include it.
Only negative, sorry.
Impatience, I think, going back to impatience, I think inconvenience and impatience are like
Vulnerability.
that's a good one. I really like that. Very true. I'm just gonna, I think anxious pretty much just makes its way into almost all of them. So in this one, we want to look at, okay, what are the major things here? On this one, we can wrap this up because I think this one's, there's really only a couple routes. Unconfident. So if you did a bad job before, they're gonna be like freaking out, wondering like if their roof is gonna be good. If you're supplementing a ton, for instance, like if you are doing an insurance claim and you did the main build, but you're like still supplementing and stuff, they might just be like, what the hell? Like the job's done, get out of my life. And you're like, no, I need to do your fence. Like, I don't want to do my fence. Like, well, the insurance company wants you to do your fence. Like, do they want me to do my fence? Like, this is where you can get in a bad spot again. Unconfident. I'm going to throw relief in there, even though, but relief could be bad. It could be relief that you're freaking gone and like relief that they don't have to deal with you. And we'll just say, etc., because I think we get the point.
I say like buyer's regret would be another negative.
That would be like, that's kind of what I mean by unconfident, but I think
Okay.
buyer's remorse.
Buyer's remorse, but
Though I think buyer's remorse usually happens like before the build a lot of the time.
okay.
Okay. So what would like if we had to like kind of give a theme for each, like what would that be? So for I would say the biggest threat here or the main like I think this one could be like discerning, like in one way the biggest like umbrella of what they're feeling, whether it's they're showing up arrogant or they're showing up anxious or unsure or hesitant, all of that, everything is basically around like, can I trust heaven? And that's probably what they're thinking all over the country. Can I trust heaven? That was, I guess it was a bad joke, whatever. So probably didn't even make that much sense. Point is, right here, can I trust you? That's the big thing they're wondering. At the adjuster meeting, you've likely built more trust, but their big question is essentially, is this going to be covered? Am I going to have to like fight my insurance company? They're like wondering maybe, should I trust the roofing company or should I trust the insurance company? The insurance company's a lot bigger and more established and like seems a little bit more professional in certain ways. So like they seem like a bigger company. So maybe that means I should trust them more like than the roofing company that found me or I found in whatever way. So like I would say like the big emotion that like if we had to put one umbrella on all of this, what would we say? Help me out. I don't have a set answer. We're just going through this exercise together on this one. Just one emotion. If we had to
Repeat the question.
Probably anxious. Like
I think anxious is probably like the main thing too.
Okay.
So anxious is probably here. This one, so this one's, can I trust them? This is just like general anxiety. This one is, I would say, anxious, but also I think vulnerability.
yeah, that was a good one. That was a
Really
good
good.
call out.
And
Yeah.
also I think that it like actually covers a lot of them. like impatience is also like, okay, they're here, this is annoying, but also like what if something goes wrong? Relief is like, okay, finally it's starting, maybe, but also Dad has this leverage. I'm not farting. I don't know if I'll hear it. It sounds like I am. But so I would say vulnerability, I think, is like the biggest umbrella one here because I think that like a lot of the other emotions could stem from here. I would say relief is probably the biggest one here in regards to like relief that you're done and they don't have to deal with you anymore. So those would be, I think, the biggest threats. Now that we know this, what would we say? Let's just not do the whole like 5 adjectives for time's sake here, but in this one, the biggest emotional threat or biggest thing that the homeowner might be experiencing, and we don't have to go so heavy on the negative. I would say curiosity, inconvenience, and then another curiosity, but like let's call it version 2 because it's a different type of curiosity. So
Those are more, the first two are more annoyed. The last one is less
yeah,
annoyed.
or annoyed, or like, do I have to get my roof replaced too, or what's going on? How much did they pay? On this one, it's curiosity, hopefully, of like, can I like, oh, that company, I am looking for a company. So let's say about company, and then this is like about outcome slash price slash project. Same thing. So sometimes they're already going to be like in the market. So that could like include curiosity about the company as well. But I don't think that's like something worth betting on necessarily. So what we want to look at here is how can we really make sure that at each of these phases that we are, one, taking care of these emotions, and two, taking care of these emotions. So all of that is going to maximize what? Neighbors flagging you down, referrals. If we can get really good at that, we're going to get more neighbors who want to use us, or at least have us like marked down as the one they're going to use in the future. And we're going to get more referrals from their network. So within this, we want to look at, okay, what are these two emotions? What can we do for the homeowner to make them feel less nervous, anxious, hesitant, fearful, arrogant, patient, etc.? Let's just list a few things. This is a more participatory, I don't know, is that a word?
It is now.
Hey, I know what you mean. So that's the purpose of language, right?
There we go. I like that perspective. So I'll get us started. We could show up with our logo and with our shirt tucked in, even though we don't want to tuck our shirt in. We can not smell. We can,
I can't physically smell, but I think you mean a different way.
yeah. Allergies are crazy this year, man. But we can make sure we don't have like we have deodorant on, or like we have like a spray deodorant something in our car, even though like we like something just to make sure that like they're not just like, ugh. We can, I don't I don't know, but my guess is neither of you smoke cigarettes, but if you do, then if you're watching the recording, like maybe try not to be smoking a cigarette right before this meeting, or like as you're pulling up. be shocked at how, like, for someone who smokes there, it's like you are nose blind to it, I promise. So there's like, you could, on the front end over here, you could send really, really organized reminders of how you're going. You could set the agenda for the inspection. You can show up exactly when you said you're going to show up. You can really identify, really identify what your main goal is. So at the inspection, hey, my main goal, if we look at like our primary emotion, like, can I trust this person? We could say, hey, my main goal here is to give you the information you need on your roof, to give you an inspection. I don't want you to feel like you need to go climb up there. And I also don't want you to feel like you just have to take my word for it. So I'm going to climb up there. I'm going to document it and take pictures and really try to give you as much clarity on what's on your roof as possible and educate you on kind of like what that means within reason. I'm not going to like start throwing a bunch of technical terms at you, but I just want to give you the one-on-one of what I'm seeing and what that might mean and kind of give you some ideas on what we could do from there. And we could really make sure that the way we're communicating with them is addressing and acknowledging, can I trust him? And the best way to establish trust is to think of what are all the reasons they wouldn't trust me? What are all the things that could irk them or make them feel weird? What are all the different things that they won't enjoy, like that could make this a bad experience, and how can I do the opposite of that? So if we're looking at action items on this, you can look at your inspection process and your leading up to inspection process and try to really, really reverse engineer, like, what would be the best experience I could give that's just based off things I can do, not based off of this perfect me doing 90% and the homeowners doing 10% or 50-50 or anything like that. But what are the things I can control and what are the things I can make sure to do at every inspection to address the potential emotional state or the main driver or main threat at the inspection, which is usually, can I trust this person? So that's where we want to look at how organized our inspection process is. Is it for us as experts in roofing and construction, or is it for them as people that are nervous and anxious and hesitant and fearful and wondering if they can trust you or not? And are we trying to get a roofer to trust us, or are we trying to get a homeowner to trust us? Big difference. Because if you're trying to, and I know that sounds funny, but if you show up and just blah and use all these terms and jargon and explain things in a way that really is just like something that like would be like a roofer to roofer conversation, but like way over their head, that's not going to help necessarily move the needle on the trust for them. So we have to speak in their language. We have to be aware of that. That's the big thing we can look at for the homeowners, is like trying to reverse engineer what are the reasons that they wouldn't trust us and what can we do and what are all the different pieces of making sure that they can. So if you're looking for action items, it's simply make sure my inspection process is catered towards someone who might be in this state and to get them out of this state.
I think another part of that, Brad, is just doing what you say you're going to do. So show up on time, call them when you're on your way, and just like, do what you're communicating to them that you're going to be doing.
Exactly.
Is probably a big part of that.
Yeah. So that's a huge piece of it. Like, that's what I mean. It's like all the way, like leading up to it, that's like, we want to look at how can we prepare for the inspection, and then how can we show up at the inspection. Preparing for the inspection would be similar to what you said. Mm-hmm. So like that's exactly, you're spot on. It's like that's the stuff we need to look at, and we need to be really intentional. We cannot just go with the motions, because the moment you think this is just something everyone would know, and then you try to bring a new person on and they're not aware of this, or they're not staying aware of like what their main thing could be, then it's going to be harder and harder to train them and keep them. And you also can deter from a culture perspective. Like if you are trying to bring on a new salesperson and you kind of explain to them part of your process, or you do hire them and then you onboard them and they're just like, like they don't seem to like really jive with this, good sign that they might not be your guy or girl. Equality. So the you like that, Tevin. So the big thing that we want to look at is how are we doing that? And then we also want to always extend that same problem solving, that emotion solving state to the neighbors. So they're curious. Instant estimator would maybe be a good thing here, like informing them of why you're there, figuring out a way to let them know what you found if there's an opportunity for that. Like their other fear is that you're going to try to sell them. So like let's add that in there. Curiosity, but like they're not so curious that they want to flag you down. In fact, they want to avoid you like the plague probably. So how can we make it so we're answering their question, we're feeding that fact that they're curious without making them feel like they're forced into a situation of any sort. So they're curious about the outcome. They're curious why you're there. They're curious potentially about the price. Now, I don't know that that means you just need to offer the price. So that doesn't necessarily mean you lead with the instant estimator. Like it just depends how you sell and depends like how you approach things. But that's still something that we want to look at. On the adjuster meeting, we got emotional threat, same kind of thing. It's kind of pointed at the adjuster. One of the things we can do is say, hey, look, the adjuster, like if we are doing it, I'm not talking, honestly, I don't think y'all do any insurance, so it's kind of like mute point. But in this case, if we were, and just for the exercise point, we look at them and we try to make sure that at the adjuster meeting, we try to continue building up the trust because that matters, but also look at how can we make sure that they know the intent, the purpose, what everyone's looking for, and give them the knowledge. Because I think a lot of the emotions are, do I need a new roof or do I not? The roofer's saying I need a new roof. The adjuster's saying I don't need a new roof or might say I don't need a new roof. I don't know who to trust. If the roofer tells me to push, like I've heard from Susie that a roofer like really tried to tried to get another adjuster and like they just want the insurance money. And like how can we, one, establish more trust, and two, explain to them what's being looked for, what's happening, and trying to honestly kind of going back to reinforce maybe what we did here, which was leading up to the communication and making sure we show up on time, we do what we say we're going to do, giving them clarity on what you found and what you saw and why that might mean they need a new roof replacement. And then in this case, making sure that they know that, hey, let's review the stuff we saw. This is what I'm going to show the adjuster. And this is my opinion based off of this, and this. We're going to see what his opinion is. I would imagine it's going to be the same as mine, but if it's not, then we may just have to continue talking to him and try to like work to make sure that he sees what needs to happen. I'm not here to force you into like a fight with your insurance company, but I do want to make sure that you're getting your roof taken care of. And like, I think that you qualify for a new roof and there's a window of how long you're going to qualify for a new roof because storm dates do expire. So like making sure they really know your intentions here and kind of putting your guard down is going to be good. We want to reverse engineer that. If we are having adjuster meetings, what can we do to answer and to make them feel like you're kind of solving some of these problems. Who do I choose? Who do I trust? So now, can I trust Tevin? Then it's, well, I was pretty sure I could trust Tevin, and I still do for the most part. But what if Tevin and the adjuster say different things? Who do I trust then? So this is like, we want to kind of give them clarity on like that question. That's the question they have. Who do I trust? Now, who do I trust? Can I trust Tevin? Okay, now there's another person that I have to decide to trust them or them. Which one should I trust more? Are they going to be on the same page? If not, what does that mean for me? So that's the question. In this case, their curiosity is, okay, the roofer's here again. I guess they filed an insurance claim. Is it approved? So if you have like looked at your blueprint and we had a section about the adjuster meeting, you're going to see I was very intentional about making sure that we look at, hey, just because an adjuster says yes, or just because an adjuster says no, doesn't mean that that's the same case for your roof. So we want to actually look at, okay, curiosity, but we almost have to reframe their curiosity in a way, because we don't want their decision of whether to talk to you and get their roof looked at to be based off what the insurance company says. You want it to be based off what you found in the first inspection, really. So you kind of want to reinforce what you talked about there a little bit. And then also over here, you want to try to, one, make sure the loop's open. And then if the adjuster is unsure, or you don't know, or you think they're going to say no or deny it, when you communicate with them, or if you communicate with them, you want to kind of talk to them about how you're probably going to like fight for the homeowner. So like not fight the insurance company, but like really stand by what you said and have some conviction around it and make sure that the homeowner gets taken care of, because that might increase this trust, because this is all kind of the trust spectrum.
I think just like setting the expectation for the homeowner as well, and just let them know about insurance adjusters, and just say, hey, like, they're probably going to be tough. They're probably going to, not give you, all the money that you deserve. If you frame that up on the front end, then their expectation will be set. So then when they're actually there, they'll be like, oh, Tevin was right. Tevin, they're doing exactly what Tevin said.
Exactly. And that's like, so that could have been teed up here for them too.
Mm-hmm.
Or that could be teed up here, here. So like, I'm glad you're seeing the line that we have to draw between everything. So like, this is the whole point. This is kind of the secret. So this is the secret. The emotions are part of it. The secret is, it's not this simple. It's this, like, you have to make sure you're always reinforcing by following their feelings and emotions and drawing a line through it to make sure that they're staying organized, and like to make sure like you're keeping their thoughts from going awry, and you're trying to keep them in as much of a container as you can. And that's kind of where it gets hard. But this is where like a lot of stuff we're working on comes into play, is like we want to tell a story as best as possible in a way to where this stuff all kind of like paints the picture and makes them feel, okay, I'm feel as though I'm going down an intentional path. I'm feeling as though Tevin is doing a really good job at communicating and kind of anticipating some of the questions I have. And you can do that to the neighbors too. Like, they have some of the questions, and if they don't, we can kind of seed curiosity. If they aren't already curious, then we can try to seed curiosity by like, hey, I'm going to fly the drone. Like, I don't want you to think anything weird's going on. Like, if you hear the buzzing, now all of a sudden, like, what are you flying? You're inspecting their roof? Why are you inspecting? Like, that could seed the curiosity. Hey, let the neighbors know I'm going to be flying the drone, or let the neighbors know I'm going to be here for an inspection. That could seed the curiosity. So we're trying to seed the, like, we're trying to, in this case, we're almost trying to like in a funny way, for all of these, the neighbor ones, we're almost trying to like exaggerate these emotions, but come with solutions. Does that make sense? So like inconvenience, we kind of want to exaggerate how inconvenienced, because like reality is it's really not a big deal when your neighbor's getting their roof replaced. Like honestly, it's loud, but it's not really that disruptive. What we want to do though is say, is it a little disruptive? Can it be potentially disruptive? How disruptive could it be? What are the different ways that it could be? What are the things that could go wrong? And kind of talk to them about that, almost as if they are like, man, Tevin's anxious as crap. Why is Tevin such an anxious dude? Why is he so anxious about my experience? You see what I mean? Like, it's kind of funny, but like, this is like, they want to be like, why is Tevin taking such good care of me? Why is Tevin so on top of this? Like, why is Tevin so worried about me being inconvenienced? He must really, really care. So, like in this case, why are they so worried about me knowing I don't really care that much? What, like, why are they so interested in me knowing what the outcome of the adjuster meeting was? Like, maybe maybe I should be worried. Maybe I'm not worried enough about it. So like we're kind of trying to exaggerate these and come with solutions, and we're trying to mitigate these. Do you see how kind of this gets a little funky? Like it's a little weird, but it works. Network, that one's simple. Honestly, like the psychology is pretty much like 101. This is like 501. This is just 101. It's like, okay. Like, hopefully, if we throw out a big enough net, we're going to catch a fish or two. We want to make sure the net is intriguing. So it's like, we want to throw some chum in the water. I'm not really a fisher, but I think that's a thing. So we want to throw some chum in the water, like some little fish heads and guts and all of that. And then once it's been there, we want to throw the net out. That actually probably could be a good analogy for a lot of this, but we'll circle back to that. On this one, curiosity. So the reason that I'm covering this, and I know that this is like a lot of reiteration, but I want us to be able to look at all of these things from a bunch of different angles. And I also want to solidify like what we're doing. What is our intention here and here and here and here and here and here? We have to be really clear on that, because if we misunderstand our own intention or what our intention should be, then our likelihood of solving this is just based off luck. Our likelihood of really squeezing all we can out of this is mostly just going to be luck.
Hey, Brad, I gotta hop off. I have to take care of something for a customer.
No,
Like,
all good. We're wrapping up
quickly.
anyways.
All right. See you, Morgan. See you,
All right.
Brad.
Later, guys. Or later, Tevin.
Hey, I'll leave right now, Brad. I'll do it.
Yeah, come on. I mean, I am pretty much wrapped up, but like this is the stuff. Like this
I
is
got
like
you.
kind of this is like the psychology, or a way of looking at the psychology of the whole process. And we have to be able to look at two completely different emotions, and we have to solve these emotions while fanning the flame a little bit on these emotions. But we always have to make sure that we are coming across still as problem solvers. So when we seed curiosity here and here, we need to make sure that we do it in a way to where they feel and look at us as, okay, oh shoot, how long has she been in there? We want to look at this in ways where it's like, okay, this is like the neighbors, they're feeling curious, maybe a little. We want to make them feel really curious. At the adjuster meeting, if we have that, maybe they're forgot that you exist. Maybe they are a little bit curious. Maybe they would be curious if they knew you were there. We want to make them a lot curious. I don't know what just happened there. On build day, same. On job complete, same. So job completes, like, there's less like seeding. It's more just like the net. So we just want to look at all this and try to get as organized as we can on the way we're thinking about this, because this is like kind of the why behind it. And if we can have our intention, if we know our intention, then we're going to be able to talk about it to our team and kind of train them on it. So like we need to be prepared for the questions that come with it. So that is the training for today. If you got anything, you got anything that you need more? I see. Well, we're meeting in 2 days, right?
Well, there's one tomorrow and then one on Thursday as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll see you then.
All right.
Appreciate you. Oh, I need to check out. I've been crazy busy. I'll check out your the proposal too. It's
The
not
what?
too late. Is it too late for the proposal?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I'll check it out. All right.
All right, cool. Thank
Talk
you.
soon, man. Later.